Good morning.
Hello and good day.
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you doing today?
I am caffeinated.
Awesome. That was some emphasis on some points and whatnot.
Wow, we are like zoomed in today.
We are. We're here. We're here in front of you.
How you doing this morning?
I think we said that right.
Oh, I did.
I think
okay,
we're good.
So we are Warm and Cozy Quilting.
We are.
It is Saturday morning. In case you need to know what day it is, sometimes we're tired folks.
We sometimes are.
Are like, I don't know. And it doesn't matter because it's all Saturday to me, right?
Correct.
Well, today is actually Saturday. So we're warm and cozy and we're having coffee. Did I already say? I'm sorry. I'm going in a loop.
Repetition. Hold on. This track
to
is kind of stuck. Somebody scratched the CD. Hold on.
Well, you said you're going to be in charge of this today. The telling him
panic
this
you
and
for a
that.
second?
Oh, like
I mean,
right before he clicks the button, he's like, "So you need to tell him who we are," and I'm like, "Okay." So I told you twice.
Usually I walk in and I guide that whole process for us. I apologize. I'm playing producer this morning. I'm not the fastest at these things, but I do my best.
What's my hair doing? Is my hair okay?
Your hair's fancy.
Okay.
Is my hair fancy?
Your hair's fancy.
Okay,
Very fancy.
I do my best.
So good morning to Kathy and Donna, Mary and Deborah.
Hello and hello, 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 and hello. Yeah, if you're out there watching, don't be afraid to say hello. We like people saying hi. We appreciate
joining
the
in on the
interaction.
conversation. It's always fun.
Always a good time. I'm gonna flip over to YouTuber here and see nobody over there watch. No, there's watchers, but they're not saying it. That's okay. You guys don't have to say anything.
Nope.
Totally fine.
What's really cool with YouTube is you can go back and
Easily find it.
search for something. So later you decide, wait, what did they say? It's 3 months from now, and you're like,
Right.
I know that they said something about Longarms. There was a great video on Longarms.
So much easier to find.
Right.
Also, while you're over there on the YouTubes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't really do anything like immediately for us, but it helps us, and so it's free also. So do that. Fun.
Morning, Linda and Joanne. Hi, Beth.
Hello.
Jean. Good morning. Good morning
day.
to Jane. We got Jean and Jane.
Jean and for a second I thought you stammered. I was like, what's that mean?
And good morning, Vicky. She's on YouTube.
Good
morning. And good morning to Dolores.
Hello.
I have found that sometimes one streaming service will work better for me than the other.
This is also a true statement.
Yeah, so sometimes the YouTube
things.
is nice and like it does. I don't have any weird glitchy stuff.
Yeah, they're different on how they broadcast that.
Good morning, Warm and Cozy.
Good morning. Oh wait,
or Mom.
For sure. Anyway, all right. So we've got some people we said hi to. We do have some things to go over, some general announcements as we always do.
Right.
But did we tell them we were going to talk Longarms today?
No, but we are. Look at. He's got them.
I actually have 5 of them. Not these two.
We don't count those. We don't count those.
That doesn't count.
No.
It only counts when I have to hold up somebody's quilt for them.
Right.
All of a sudden now they're super useful.
Then we go find Jason. We're like, where is he? So he can hold this up.
Bring him over here.
He's got the long arms.
Okay, that's my job. It's like an official, unofficial quilt frame holder.
Right.
Oh, anyway. All right. So some important things to know and also for you to be aware of. The people that voted for us in the By Annie's local quilt shop contest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you.
So grateful.
We didn't win.
No, but
it was okay. We had a lot of votes. I had my own, man, I hope I beat these people, and a couple names.
We beat them all.
All of them.
All the ones we wanted to beat, we beat them. No.
Now, I'm going to say this about us too, though, and our customers, because they're the best. We had, in the state of Illinois, for all the shops in Illinois that were in this contest, we were third.
Third in the whole state.
By the way.
Right?
Thank you. Awesome.
In the St. Louis metro area.
Right.
We beat everybody.
It's because we're the best. Our customers are the best.
I also have to say, like, I'm competitive.
Yeah.
But because I want to win, but at the same time, I also cheer for other people. Like, even though we were third in the state, I looked at the first and second. I was like, that's so great for them, So anyway, it's amazing. So yeah, I'm always like, oh, we beat it is not a competition, but it is, because I want everybody to win.
It's just fun.
But I also want to be the winner.
You're just competitive.
Anyway.
Next year, you're going to need about 2,000 votes for us to beat the guys that were wherever they were at. Not, I think, Canada, maybe?
Maybe Canada, yeah.
Anyway, it was a good time. I was glad we were participating.
I do have to say though, I didn't read other people's okay, I take that back. So the person who got first in Illinois,
Yeah.
She posted the leaderboard, the comments. And so I started reading through hers, and they were good. I mean, they were wonderful comments. These people voted for this person. So obviously they, find enjoyment in that quilt shop. Wonderful. But the comments from the people who voted for us were like, they were like, these people make you feel like family. These are like,
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
My
That's
God,
your job.
so
That's my
awesome.
job.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So anyway, we missed some people. So good morning to Kathy, and thank you, Vicky, and thank you, Dolores, and good morning to Joyce.
Good day. Good day. All right, so that's that. Also, if you were not aware, let this be your notification. The St. Louis metro area shop hop is underway.
It's underway.
It's been happening since the 1st, and it goes until the end of the month, which is the 31st. I wasn't sure, so I was waiting for her to correct me. Didn't happen.
No. March. All through March.
All through March.
Right.
5 shops participating. Actually, watch this. I have information to show you. Click. Sorry, I, again, am not a great producer. Those are your shops that are participating.
Nice. You got a graphic and everything.
I know. You'll find this information on your passport. To get your passport, go to your participating shop. Bring a donatable food item. So, quote unquote, pay for your passport. There is no actual fee for that. If you don't bring one, nobody's going to throw you out.
Right.
You still get your passport.
Right.
At each store, you will get a mystery quilt pattern piece of the pattern.
Piece of the pattern, right?
Piece of the pattern.
Right. At the first shop, when you get your passport, you'll also get fabric requirements. Now, those fabric requirements are for the whole quilt, which is big, queen size. So,
so when you get those fabric requirements, you don't have to buy all of it there and then. They'll just let you know you're going to need this much. I mean, you can. I'm not stopping you. Do what you got to do.
Good morning to Jody. Good morning to Joe. Oh, we already said Joyce.
But she's saying we do because we're.
Oh, thank you, Joyce.
And there's Jackie.
And good morning, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. Also, if you need a visual map, because you are a very much visual person, here you go. Here's the layout.
Oh my gosh, look at you go.
Actually stole these from Zadie from last week.
Nice.
We talked about it. And that's what's going on there. So, it's doable in a day. We've had people that did them in a day. We did them on a Saturday, I think.
Right.
Like, crazy.
So we open late, but we stay open later than some of the shops. So if you started at a shop that opens early,
right,
and then you hustle onto that one and then come back and then hit us last,
actually,
works out.
It was actually Pam. That's who it was, and she said that they didn't rush. They established time per location.
Yeah.
And made the whole thing comfortably. So
right.
Doable in a day.
Yes.
Also, you have all month.
Right.
Also, Sundays.
Oh,
there is a Sunday hour tomorrow. So if you're
open tomorrow,
I don't have time for all that.
Right.
You can go out tomorrow. That thing has hours on it for Sunday hours. So plan accordingly. Take friends. It's more fun that way.
So good morning to Alvina and heyo to Pat.
Heyo. Party.
She just missed some L's. That's okay. It made me happy.
Heyo. Heyo.
And Jody forgot her donation, drove to Casey's, bought some, Casey's probably has never sold vegetables before, right? But,
They've got cans of it, I'm sure.
And good morning, Dorothy. And hello, Pat.
They got to have fun with that.
I really want to use that now. Like every time I'm just going to.
Every time Pat walks in, hey-o. Pat's going to be like, you guys, don't do that. Right.
Don't do that. Okay. So I have had a lot of people say, oh, it's so far. It's so much driving, but I really think that you can, like we've heard, you can do it in one day.
Yeah.
You don't have to devote a whole lot of time.
That's it. Now on a Teo. Yeah. Anyway, it is a lot of driving, but it's absolutely fun. It's worth the effort. Where were you going with that thought? I got sidetracked. I
have had some people who say, I'm not going to do the whole thing, so then there's no sense in doing any of it.
Right.
And in the past, it's been like, well, no, because you could do 2 shops, and you still can do that. You can just come to us, go to one other, if you just, these are the two that, we have weekly drawings
Right. There are
that are
prizes to
going
be
on,
had,
just
sure.
prizes just for coming in. And each time you come throughout the month, you can sign up for the weekly drawing.
Right.
And those are some fun gifts. So anyway, I still think it would be worth doing so that you can get the whole mystery quilt, because you can't get the mystery quilt without going to every shop. So,
Right. So Sherry, asked about the stores being open on Sunday tomorrow. All the stores do have Sunday hours tomorrow. They all have them.
mhm.
They're all different. Well, they're not all wildly different, but make sure you check your passport for those hours.
Right, because ours are 11 to 3.
We'll have somebody here from 11 to 3. You're welcome to come in and visit them because they will need your attention
Right.
because they get going to be bored.
I mean,
I don't know. You get boring sitting here
so we
waiting
had-
eagerly for
right.
everybody to come in.
right, because, okay, seriously, during the week we have, or every day that we're here, we have something going on. Yeah, I know, Sherry Joe. I'm sorry I called you Jody. Is that okay?
Well, I hesitated. I like stammered
Sherry
when I
Jo.
got to Sherry Joe, but I was like, oh, but is she going to go like Jody? And so I got
She went
sidetracked. I'm
she
sorry.
wants her old face. Okay,
Oh, that happened. Oh, I'm so sorry.
so sorry about that.
I'm all right. From now on, you're Sherry Joe forever and always.
So,
I say,
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know
This
what
is
you're
all
talking
derailed.
okay.
Welcome
and-
back. Welcome to Warm and Cozy Quilting. I'm Jason. Anyway,
So we're warm and cozy.
shop hop. It's going to be a good time. If you're not doing it, plan on doing so. Another good time happening this month, by the way.
Next weekend.
Next weekend. Next Saturday, we are going to be over in Queenie Park
Mhm.
for the Bits and Pieces Quilt Show.
Mhm.
It's going to be awesome.
They have
I'm so excited.
420.
I think she
quilts?
said 470. Like,
What's that? Oh my
there's
gosh.
a bunch, a
lot of
sure
quilts.
show of quilt shows. Like, be there. 2
Also-
days, Saturday, Sunday.
Also, we're going to bring quilts, but
Well,
they don't really count.
Mine aren't really for voting on because
Right.
whatever. But no,
But lots of talented people in that guild, so I can't wait to see their quilts.
Yes.
We need to take like extra help because I'm going to be walking around with
We've had this conversation. We're gonna have to struggle to not
Mhm.
abandon the
the booth. Like,
things. Just
could
hanging
you
out.
just hold on? I'll
We'll
be right
back,
back. I'll be
guys.
right back. I got to go look at these quilts.
So it's going to be a good time. If you guys haven't made plans to get out there next weekend, please look
Saturday
into it.
and Sunday.
Yep.
I'm doing demos on stripology rulers at one point. We're taking.
I'm taking my long arms.
We're taking 2 long arms.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
A brand new one.
I'm taking
so
my 2 arms
excited
too,
about
but
it.
we're not like. We'll take your 2 arms and my 2 arms. They come with me everywhere
That's
I go.
4 arms. Anyway,
do-
it's gotten so just silly. It's getting silly.
Okay, I was gonna make
How
it
much
even
caffeine
sillier.
did you have today?
This is cup 4. I mean, like I'm seriously in trouble.
Oh my!
Wait, no,
I
cup
need
3.
to get you out to the sales floor.
Cup 3.
Stat. Let's
Wait.
do this.
Yeah.
What?
Usually I only have 2 by now. This is the 3rd one.
Anyway, quilt show next weekend. I'll be there.
Nice.
It's going to be awesome. All right. What do we got going on? Any other fun comments
let me see
before we
if
start
anybody-
talking long armory?
Good morning to Sandy. I think I missed Sandy. And then, Eula May. Good
Hi, Eula May.
morning. And Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
All right.
Good day. All right. So we've been following this whole series of intro type informations into the quilting world.
Right.
Right. We've gone
Mhm.
from your machines and notions and all the other things and what have yous and whatnot. So the one thing we haven't gotten to yet really is the quilting process and how to and what you're going to do to get all 3 of those layers of your sandwich together.
So frequently we talk about piecing, and someone will say, I'm making a quilt.
Yeah.
And so they
Drool everywhere.
drool everywhere. So they say,
I love
I'm
quilting.
making I'm making a quilt. The quilting process is actually taking a top layer, a middle layer, and a bottom layer and putting it all together.
Right.
That is the quilting.
Right.
There you go.
Oh,
The end.
good show, guys. We'll see you next week. No, for the love of everything.
So today we're going to talk about that process, the
We are.
actual quilting putting 3 layers together. How do I do that? There's ways. There are multiple ways, right?
There are 3 primary ways to do quilting. There's hand quilting, where you're going to use the thread and needle and do a thing. I do not have this skill set, nor do I plan on ever having this skill set. Not because I don't appreciate it.
Oh my gosh,
I just don't have the patience
I have
for
no
it.
patience.
Not a doctor.
Right.
Have never been.
I try to be patient with children and dogs, but not.
They've made it pretty far in life, so you're doing well.
But not with quilts. I want to get it done.
Right. So hand quilting, absolutely gorgeous work generally. There are purists that say it's the only way to finish a quilt.
Right.
I don't disagree, but it also takes time, and many of us just don't seem to have that kind of time anymore. So
Linda is hand quilting as we speak.
That doesn't surprise me because she's prolific at hand quilting and good at it.
I think she wakes up and quilting and goes to sleep quilting. No.
That sounds
But you know what else? She also has a long arm.
You shouldn't sleep in a bed with needles. This sounds terrible.
No. You could wake up
so.
with them in your arm, or
right.
It'd be no good. Eyeball.
Right. God. So much for safety, Jason, around here.
Right.
She does. She wakes up quilting. Hey, live it, love it, enjoy it. So that's hand quilting. We're not going to talk hand quilting so much today, other than just generally what we just spoke of. There's machine quilting, which we'll be speaking more on today. It's where you're using a machine to sew your sandwiches together.
Could be on a domestic machine. Could be on a long arm machine.
Absolutely. The whole idea there is your machine quilting, you're going to get a locking stitch that holds your stitch together longer. Well, possibly longer, depending on how well your machine's tension's working out for you.
Sure.
But anyway, locking stitch, machine working, doing such things. And the third and final way is by check.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You
I'll take
quilt
my
by
finished
check.
quilt now and go home with that.
That is a real nice, easy way.
Absolutely.
You just drop it off, and then you write me a check when we're done.
Absolutely. So really, it comes down to you got to learn what works best for you. Some people just don't have the patience for quilting. They don't want to do it. They don't understand it. I don't like doing it. Some people don't like piecing. I don't like piecing. I will do it. I'm not saying I'm not good at it. I'm just saying it's not for me.
Right.
But, that's how I operate.
Right.
So you can always have somebody else quilt it for you, whether by hand or by machine. But those really just in general broad stroke conversations.
Right.
3 ways of doing it.
Right.
Questions on that?
Okay.
Yes.
So I just thought of a possible other way, which I don't know what this is considered, but if you tie a quilt.
I would put tie quilts under kind of a hand quilt
because you're
style.
still using your
hand.
And it's just, you're looping thread through, you're tying it. Yeah.
Right.
So it's probably
very
still
large, general.
So if you broke down hand quilting processes, I'm sure there's multiple ways of
I'm sure of it. And I'm not versed in that at all.
Because I thought, man, we didn't talk about that. Okay. Yes, you can tie a quilt together. Don't ask me how. I don't know.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Oh, golly gracious. Anyway, that does fall under the hand quilting genre, which, again, not today.
Right.
So let's talk long arm quilting machines. Why? And here's the other reason we're doing this. So we just came off 2 weeks of Handy Quilter Van events. So many people came in, learned a whole lot of information, hands-on with long arms, playing on the machines. It was a good time. Also, I got a brand new machine in, which, again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So that's why I want to focus on long arms, because this is kind of where our brains are at today. So pretty much since the beginning of sewing, people have been looking to make machines bigger, better, more amazing.
Right.
Still trying.
More technology.
Which is crazy, because the more they try, they're really just still the exact same basic principle.
Right.
It's really kind of wild.
And really, we didn't know that until you started working on them.
Right.
And then you're like taking it apart and you're like, this is still just a machine. It's still like...
It's still a bar here and a bar here and a this and these and then ta-da.
Right. But different technology makes
different type of stitches,
stuff
different
work
lighting,
better, right? Or
you can make the outer casing super fantastic. But
some
its innards are still
computerized, more computerized components and things like that.
Right. So as quilting started taking off in the late 1800s, and
1877.
Well, that is a date that's on there, but that's actually The normalization of quilting started in the late 1800s. Not really
Okay.
any specific time frame, but the Ladies Art Company was one of those beginning type.
How about if I let you read your stuff?
It was one of those things that kind of helped get people more involved in more of a almost
Mhm.
commercialized version, like where you could find the information you needed for a
Somewhere.
price somewhere. It was more
Right.
easy to obtain. It wasn't
Right.
just a grandma taught me and grandma taught grandma and mom and all the things.
Right, and if somewhere
could go
something was
to
missed down the line,
An
you didn't
outside
have.
source for some sort of continuity.
Right.
So the quilting machine came out around 1871, and by 1877, a version of the quilting frames that we're sort of familiar with today was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it has changed, but it's all very much the same.
Right.
How do we reinvent all of this, or do we?
If it's working,
Why break
fix it?
Oh wait, why fix it? Right. So anyway, long arm quilters. The whole point of the machine is that you're able to put the quilt out into a frame, so it holds your material nice and politely,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can move your machine across it, and it can stitch it together.
Right.
This way, you're not.
Is it? Yeah. Is it really polite?
Well, of course, it's polite.
Okay.
Well, it's. I had to make it pretty because let's be honest, you're stabbing your fabric thousands of times with a little sharp needle. Not really polite.
Yeah, and if you say taut, you don't want it to, like, you don't want to say you're putting it on the frame and that it's holding it nice and taut.
Right.
Because that's not, you want it to be holding it politely.
Politely.
Mhm.
Yes. That's not aggressively.
Right.
Anyway, so long arms are typically referred to machines that have a throat space of 16 inches or more. So from the needle to the back of the harp of the inside part of the machine,
Mhm.
that determines your throat space.
Okay.
16 inches or greater are long arms.
Okay.
15 down are known as mid arms. So
So it doesn't matter if it's in a table and stationary, that's not considered mid-arm. The size of the throat, the size of the arm
again, this
determines. Okay.
Going off the best that I can read from various sites. Nobody really argued whether stand-up stationary was the conversation. There's really more the amount of throat space that you have to operate in.
Makes sense because that, yeah. Mhm.
So you could have a mid-arm in a table
why is
and a
it-
long arm in
anyway.
a table. Why is it what?
Why is it throat space and arm? Like, why do we have this is a long arm, this is a mid arm, this is a throat space? Why is it throats and arms?
Because Steve decided this about 35 years ago, and just that's what we're going with.
Steve? Okay.
I don't know.
Great.
I just made Steve up. Steve, you could have done better. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he's actually watching, and he doesn't exist, so clearly he's not. Because I just made it up. Anyway, so yeah, they can be movable or stationary. Doesn't really matter. But long arms exist in both forms. The long arms that we're familiar with these days, however, came out in the 80s, 1980. Did you know this? Like the 80s were a wonderful era for
There was
quilting worlds.
neon.
There was neon.
Mhm.
There was rap. Hip hop.
There was big hair.
Big hair.
I mean, you
so much
you
big hair.
use so much hairspray to
So
get it
much.
stand up. I think that was
Rotary
when
cutters.
you rolled your jeans.
Gene rolling happened. Rotary cutters were also invented in the 80s. I mean, really, I was born in the 80s, so therefore, also one of the other few things that came out of the 80s that was worthwhile.
Right.
Sorry, the rest of you were born in the 80s.
I was not born in the 80s.
You were not. Anyway, right now, though, they say there are about 11 different long arm companies. I didn't go and recount them to make sure they're all there, but they're all, there's several.
Mhm.
There's a few different brands to choose from. We're going to talk about one particularly today.
That sounds good.
Jason Lewis says, we rolled our jeans so tight that it caught the circulation to our feet.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, sir. That was 1980s.
Yeah.
I remember the first few times I did that, I'm like, I don't see this being fun for me. Everybody else was doing it, so I'm just like pulling it tight. I'm like, I don't like this. Because then my legs are restricted, and I was like, this isn't fun.
Oh,
I didn't get it.
I did.
I wasn't the cool kid, that's for sure.
Well, and man, then if I didn't roll them, I'm like, what is wrong with these pants? They're not cutting off my circulation.
Right. It's just.
Now I feel like
Could you
they're
imagine
just
doing
all
that now?
loosey-goosey.
You imagine doing that nowadays?
Yeah,
Cutting off circulation. Or, like, I get mad when my socks are too tight.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Mhm.
It's terrible. Getting old. Anyway, as far as the frames for your movable machines, we've come a long way from the original stationary machines, which were only a couple feet, nothing too wild. Up anywhere.
Couple inches. A couple feet.
The
Frame.
frames.
Frame.
Anyway, right now they range anywhere from 5 foot to 14 foot, depending on brand and what you're looking for, and like they have all the sizing variations that you can imagine.
Right.
Which is fine. You use what you can work with, depending on the space that you have available.
Exactly.
This is kind of the important part.
I tell people, get the biggest frame that you can comfortably fit. Now, I also mean use your space adequately. Don't get a 5 foot frame if you could fit a 12 foot. But this is comfortable. I'm like, okay, but if you could fit a 12 foot, you're going to be happier.
Right.
Is my opinion.
The chances of you running into a quilt that you're completing that you won't be able to do all yourself will be a lot less if your frame is big enough to accommodate pretty much any size. Very important to know all that. Basic principles of the frames across the board. Usually there's 2 bars in the front. One's for attaching your top. One's for attaching the backing. You're going to put the 2 or the 3 pieces of sandwich together via those bars.
Yeah, you're just sliding that batting in between.
Right in between there. And then there's a bar in the back.
Sometimes
there's a tension bar that helps keep them level, and sometimes it's just a single bar. But that's going to take all that up as you advance your quilt.
If there is a second bar, that is a tension bar, not a bonus bar.
A bonus bar, for sure.
Not just like, hey, if I feel like it, I might use that.
I think I might use that today. There are customers that may inadvertently skip that step every time, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm not calling you out. It was fun. It's easy enough to fix and avert that. Believe me, I hate when I do it.
Oh my gosh,
Here's the worst thing. The worst part is that we've done so many quilts. I've done so many myself on our machines out there. And there's times that I've loaded them, and even more recently I've loaded them, and I'm like,
how did I do this wrong? How did I do this wrong?
I do this all the time, and I can't even load this right.
How?
Anyway, it was just a long day is what that turned out to be. So,
right.
But one of the bigger luxuries that came out of long arm quilting is being able to have stitch regulation.
Oh, that's been even more recent.
That has been even more recent.
Right.
Being able to move your machine or your fabric if you have a stationary table with built-in stitch regulator, and get a consistent stitch, and you don't have to guess.
So stitch regulator. Yes. So let's talk about that. So machines did not have that. So it would just needle would go up and down at so many per minute.
Correct.
Then you have to either move the machine at a steady pace so that those stitches don't get too long and then too short. If you were slow in a corner, you might get really tight and then come out of the corner and really loose. So you had to be more in my mom had unstitch regulated machines.
Right.
Until we opened the shop and got a computerized machine.
Right.
So she was like, you just have to put on music. You have to put on
find a rhythm.
Headphones or something, and and then get into a groove. I'm like, but what if the next song is faster? And then the next one's a ballad, and we're like,
I think you have to have a playlist at that point.
Right.
So that's where you get out the tape deck, and you have to record songs.
Oh, but now we got Google, right? So we could say, I need songs that are 100 beats per minute.
I feel that's cheating.
Well,
it's not cheating.
Then you have a whole list, right? And you can go, ooh, I like that one, and that one, and that one. Anyway.
150 beats per minute.
So this is how our domestic machines are.
Currently, still are.
As you run your foot pedal, it goes at that speed.
Correct.
If you use your button and you have a little slide guy that, so you can change the speed, but and so there you can change the stitch length.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they are kind of regulated.
Kind of, but they're very much not.
But they're using their feed dogs.
Because if you take those feed dogs and you drop them out and you're going to quilt without the feed dogs,
right.
There's no regulation.
Now there's no regulation.
It's just speed stitching.
The stitch length is then going to be triggering the feed dogs
Exactly.
to do that.
And you're right, Jason. It is using your tools and resources by using Google to make your playlist. You're right. Sorry.
Anyway, but so not having a stitch regulator, you had to be pretty good. And so then people will look at quilts and they kind of would judge them based on, how irregular their stitches would look or things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, just in the last, I don't know, how many years since stitch regulator came out?
I honestly don't have that information. I don't know that I've ever read where that actually came into.
So stitch regulator was an option, but even for like my mom's machine, it was like an additional $1,000 to get that added on. And then it helped.
Right.
But it was then it was like it sounded different. It was a little more jerky. You had to be more fluid in your, for it to recognize your hand movement if you were doing it on a stationary machine. So now we have regulated.
Right.
Stitch regulated.
I think the other important thing to know is that Longarms, even though they were kind of, as we know them now, were introduced in the 80s, they didn't really become attainable by most people until actually almost the 2000s.
Right.
That's when other brands started coming out with machines that were geared for home use.
Right.
Becoming more attainable by everybody. So if you're sitting at home with a machine in your house 30 years ago, it probably wasn't a chance. Not going to happen.
Right. They made them. They were industrial machines.
Right.
They were made for production, work of doing lots of things quickly.
Right.
So not everybody had one.
The power of technology.
Now everyone can have one.
You can have one, and you can have one, and you don't get one. You scare me. No, Steve. Sorry,
imaginary Steve in the
poor
corner.
Steve. He's going to get the brunt of this today. I almost don't feel bad for him. If he was real, I'd almost feel bad.
Yeah.
All right. So again, long arm quilting. It's great having the ability to do it at home. It's great having the stitch regulation. Being able to stand up and do that, or be able to be stationary in a chair, or what have you. We do have here, we sell the handy quilters.
We do.
I do want to point some things out with Handy Quilter. Slight promo here, but bear with me. So I did a Google research yesterday.
Yes.
Just to see currently what the most popular brands are that are out there.
Right.
I found one site where she listed 6 of the top machines and for what category she felt that it was best for. Of the 6, she named Handy Quilter for one of them. The other 3, or the next 3, were actually, they're built by Handy Quilter. They're just, they have the label of the other companies on them.
Handy Quilter builds lots of people's long arms. If you don't know that, they do. To maybe their specs.
They are to their specifications.
Right. So, which may not be the same. They're not the same.
They're not the same
as a Handy Quilter. But yeah, they're all still built
so
by
very
Handy Quilter.
similar in construction and operation and.
But yeah, so wasn't it 5 of the 6 or
4
something?
of the 6.
4 of the 6 were all built by Handy Quilter.
So anyway,
but the one that was named Handy Quilter was the best at.
I don't remember.
Dang it! It was
I think best for quality or something like that. Basically, it's just kind of an overall general.
I really am sad now that I can't remember this.
Yeah, it wasn't
whatever.
It wasn't a person I was familiar with her site.
Right. Also, this is a Google search, and
thanks Google.
So maybe not the person to ask.
Right. So don't take this as a bash on your machine if you have any other brand. I'm really not. You use what works best for you.
Right.
That's the important part, because there's so many choices out there, and it's tough to make a decision all the time. And if you have a dealer that's next to you that sells one brand, and that's what you have, then that's what you go with. That's cool. It'll get you to the point you need to get it to you.
Dolores said that she knows the Baby Lock cornets are the same. Yes, they are.
They sure are.
Baby Lock long arms are built by Handy Quilter.
They are. They for sure are. All right. So let's talk about a couple of the Handy Quilter machines that we have.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the first one that is my most favorite currently.
Okay.
Because I don't know how to properly use it, and I'm learning. So therefore, it's more exciting to me.
Yeah.
So if you follow the internets and the things at all, you know that Handy Quilter has been working on a new stationary machine. Did you know this?
I did.
They did. They introduced this guy. This is the Amara ST. This
so
is
ST for stationary.
stationary. So this machine is 20 inches of throat space, and it comes on an automated lift table. Are you kidding me right now? I can lift this table up, and it comes up to here on me. And I am 6'2"-ish, like 6'1 3/4, if you want to be exact.
I used to say you were 6'3". I guess maybe I was wrong.
That might have been a bit of a fabrication.
I don't know.
But you know how people actually walk up to me with measuring tape?
Yeah, but when you walk out the door of a restaurant and they've got the little tape, do you go, oh, let's see, where am I at?
I used to. I used to like walk by and be like, it was never accurate. I just assumed where I was at.
Yeah.
Anyway, the table it's on actuators and lifts up to my height. So if I were sitting and I needed, it's so smooth and so quiet. The table is stitch regulated. So then as I move the fabric, it stitches consistently for me. It
You
also
want 12 stitches an inch, you get 12.
Yeah. It also runs a lot faster than the previous models. So the previous sit-down models or stationary models were the 16, Sweet 16, I should say, and then the Capri.
Right.
Beautiful machines, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But the Amara technology runs a lot smoother with those stitch regulators.
Can we just talk about this for a second?
Yeah.
And this may be a little bit, people are going to go, I don't understand what you're saying. But Handy Quilter was building machines. They were great.
Yes.
Then they threw in this great, wonderful technology and made the Infinity.
Yes.
And the Infinity was far beyond what they had already currently had out.
Correct.
The technology in that was amazing.
Very much so.
Then they were like, but it was 26 inches of throat space.
It's a big machine.
It takes up a lot of room, and this is a little bit more than what people want in their homes.
Yeah.
But how can we take this great technology that we've put into this Infinity and get it at a 20-inch throat space that is much more manageable, that we can put on, a frame that's a little less robust, that kind of thing. So they took off a couple of features, a camera and a thread cutter. They're like, they don't need those.
Not necessary.
Because they were finding that people were not using them as much as they had anticipated. So they took a couple things off and they came out with the Amara. And it has the technology that the Infinity has, where you can use canned air and it has a lot more lights. It has a laser light on the needle. Like, there's so many benefits to that versus what came just previous.
Right.
And so then they were like, now we've got the Amara 20, we've got the Amara 24, and we also have the Amara stationary. So now there is a stationary machine that has the technology that an Infinity,
modern stuff.
that the biggest, baddest machine that they have has. All together in one great package.
I'm glad you said all that, because honestly, I really didn't cover the idea of Handy Quilter like my goal was to do. Oops.
Oh, well.
But I also like to point out, not just because we sell them and I'm fanboying over them, but Handy Quilter was started by a quilter 20-something years ago, right around 2000. And remember how I said that machines became more attainable around the 2000 time frame? It's not coincidental.
Yeah, she wanted to be able to put her machine onto a frame,
right,
and not have to baste or something. Like, how can I make this? And then also, how can I make it more accessible to everyone?
Right.
That this isn't, you need to own a big business, and because you're going to need lots of thousands of dollars,
right?
And
go
something that's
loan
right,
from the business
right,
bank,
right. And I better be able to do 100 quilts every week to be able to, afford. You didn't
Just
have
to
to
put
do that.
food
Like,
on
I
my
just want
table.
to be able to have my hobby and be able to finish the quilts. Okay,
Right.
Stop talking.
Why? You're doing wonderful.
I feel like
We're here to talk, Danielle.
Okay.
That's my job.
I know, but I think that you have like a outline, and
I do have a general outline. It's not a really good one.
okay. So
Sometimes it's a little
what's next? What's
hot
next
messy.
that I can
So anyway,
jump
we
in
talked
and
about
talk over
stationary
you?
machines. Stationary machines are, again, machines that are in a table where you can move your fabric similar to your domestic in order to get them quilted. The important thing to remember is that you have the full use of that throat space. The other thing that's great about the new Amara ST is that, unlike its predecessors, the tabletop is 3 foot by 3 foot. It is already a gigantic tabletop.
Right.
The machine sits flush with that tabletop, so your quilt goes across nicely. Even with the Capri, there's been some complaints from some folks about the needle plate being just a smidgen too fat. And I'm not a machinist, and I'm not going to go out and try to modify that because no thank you, not paying for that.
Right.
Anyway, having a larger table space to support your quilt is actually super nice.
I think it is super cool that I could raise it up and I could stand.
You could stand.
At a stationary, because we used to say a sit down or stand up. Well, there are lots of people with movable machines that sit.
Absolutely.
And there are lots of people with
stationary
machines that stand, right?
Yes.
A standing desk, standing, this. So I sit too long and then I can't stand up. So it's better for me to stand.
The other thing to point out about these machines too that are a bit different from your domestic, if this is what you're used to standing on, I'm going to pull this picture up again. So when you're quilting with one of these, you're actually standing to the front. So you notice the screen on that is to the left side. So when you're standing in front of that machine, your throat space is towards the back, so you have more room to your sides. So you have a little bit more room to control your quilt. Whereas if you're quilting on your domestic, the way all your buttons are on the long side, so you're in amongst the harp, keeping your hands kind of crowded inside of a small space.
Right.
So having a stationary machine that's pretty much dedicated to just quilting, one, it doesn't take up near as much room. In this case, a 3x3 foot area. Most people can find a spot for that. And the ability to do larger quilts comfortably with stitch regulation. There's a lot of positives and pros to this. I've actually heard of people that like to have a stationary machine and a movable machine because you were mentioning once that with stand-up machines or movable machines.
Movable machines, you have a larger sweeping motion, is what you're generally going to. Yes, you can use rulers and you can do all kinds of things, but they generally, you're using it for quilting bigger is what
That's
mean.
What you equate it to?
Yeah. Versus if you want to do tiny little pebble, and
detail
micro. Now, the cool thing with the Amaras is that on the movable Amaras, they have adjustable handlebars to where you can do micros, quilting. You can do finer detail, but a lot of people like they have more control over the finer detail when they are moving the fabric,
right? Because
you're able to do it at the motion and the move it as fast and get
what you're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and when you're moving a 70-pound, 80-pound machine, even though it might be on really nice smooth rollers,
yes,
and it feels like you're not moving that much,
right?
There is a feeling of a little bit less control.
Right. It wants to get away from you or whatever. You don't have that control.
Inertia.
Right. Yeah. Have you heard about this? Gravity.
Hold on. Here we go.
Gravity doesn't play a part.
I'm sure it does. If we didn't have gravity, it would.
Oh, fly in the air.
It would be cool, but
I don't think
at
it's
the same
like
time.
fall if we don't hold it up.
No. Anyway, so the stationary machines. Love them, work wonderful. If you're with a domestic right now and that's how you're quilting, going up to a stationary is a very,
right.
What's the word I'm looking for?
It's the step up. It's the next step in your journey if you like that particular style of quilting.
Absolutely.
Because now you have 20 inches of throat space. Now, it's like having a giant domestic machine, but there are no feed dogs. You're never going to do a zigzag. You have a machine that's just doing
straight stitch. Actually, they equate them more to embroidery machines more than they do domestic machines in their operation. So, if that helps make a picture a little better for you. Also, again, if I didn't mention, I have one here. See it. I'll let you test drive it.
Yeah.
It's actually
even if you just want to watch the table.
I think Lydia's out there. So I think she's got an extra million stitches on it already.
Oh my gosh. She's like, do we have more fabric?
I love this thing.
Is there something else I can stitch?
All right. So stationary machines. Not a lot to say about them other than you have a table, you move the paper, works on all sorts of,
you move the fabric.
Situations. Move the fabric.
It is like, I always equate it to, it's like writing by moving the paper instead of moving the pen.
Exactly. All right. So if you have a stationary and you don't like using that method of moving things, so the stationaries are not going to work for you.
So here's me. I never quilted anything
No.
on my domestic. That is way too small of a throat space. I make giant quilts. My first quilt was a king size quilt. My second quilt was a king size quilt. Then I was like, okay, maybe we should make some lap quilts here, you know?
Maybe.
But then I'm going, I'm never quilting these things on these little machines. That seems crazy. Also, by the way, my mom had a long arm since I was, I don't know, 18 years old. No, not 18. 21.
Girl, I don't know.
Anyway, she's had a long arm for a long time. So I was like, that's how you quilt. So I never even knew that people did on their machines.
I didn't either, so I didn't know anything
so
about quilting
so I don't always see it as a progression, like, oh, I need to start by learning to quilt on my domestic, and then I need to go to a stationary machine, and then I need to and then I can get a computer. No, you can go from right here, you piece the top,
crazy,
get the
let's
computer.
do the whole thing.
Right.
Just jump on in.
Boom.
All right, but let's talk about machine options as far as the stand-up. So we were talking about the mid-arm, long-arm conversation. There is this guy. This is the Moxie. Got a picture of her. Moxie is a 15-inch throat space, which means from the needle to the back part of that throat space there is 15 inches. Now, something important to point out, when it comes to machines on frames, and this is almost universal across the board, you lose almost immediately about 4 inches of space. 3 to 4, depending on the brand of frame and how it's configured with the machine.
Because those bars.
Yeah, the bars don't really seem that big, and they probably aren't. But when the machine gets up to it, it gets restricted. So if you have an 11-inch throat space on a machine on some other sort of tabletop frame, you're going to lose at least 3 inches. So you're down to about 8 inches of workable space at a maximum. Because then as you advance your quilt, that bulk of that quilt is going to roll up. So you're going to lose a little bit more. So throat space is a very important conversation when you're talking movable machines. Know what your plan is, your intention, your purpose, what you want to get out of all of this. You don't plan on doing big stuff ever at any point. You're going to keep it small and tiny. That's awesome.
Jackie did ask, what would be the size limit for a quilt size? So on the Amara ST,
on a stationary,
you can do any size. I mean, there is no limit.
Right.
I can't imagine.
No, what it comes down to when it comes to stationary,
how much fabric can you fit into a 20-inch throat space? That's the limit.
Right. Because they make them taller. So
so not only is it deep throat space, but there's also
a height advantage. Right. You're going to pin based or glue based or whatever you do for basting your sandwiches together before you take it to your stationary machine. But because it's just free open space, you can do any size you want.
Right.
And again, if you're limited on room and you've got a 3-foot table, what that table does is that helps support that quilt and the weight of it. So really it just comes down to wrangling it and keeping it from dragging and all that stuff. But when you have the table space for it, it's not that big of a deal. You can make it work. Because also you're only quilting in this area. So you got the rest of the table, you just let it hang out. So that was a good question, though.
For sure.
No size limitations on a stationary machine.
Now, talking about the Moxie, first of all, isn't it adorable?
It is. I mean, we see it again. Look at her.
I mean,
AJ, tiny and cute.
She's so cute, and it's such a great machine for someone who's like
very intro.
Not sure if if they're gonna like quilting. You know,
it's also a very budget friendly machine, but it's coming from the Handy Quilter company, so it is a solid machine. Stitches well. I've got quilts. I feel like I had one in here that was done on it. I think oh no, I did that pattern on another quilt with the Moxie. Anyway, solid machine. Not a lot of room.
Not a lot of room.
You can outgrow it pretty quick because you really eventually realize, oh, I wish I had a little bit more room.
So when you can only do one pass, and that can only be 8 inches because I have a big quilt, and by the time that gets up, it's going to be too fat. I'm going to lose some throat space. So then you could go, man, I really wish I could get 2 rows in before I had to advance it, you know?
Right.
And this is generally when you go, I'm ready to go up to the next thing, the next phase.
Also know that these machines for Handy Quilter, again, we're speaking specific to Handy Quilter, the machines come with different sized frames as far as what can really work best for you in your situation as
Right.
far as space is concerned. With the Moxie, the frame comes with the machine, comes on an 8-foot frame, which
Right.
is a maximum quilt width. What I tell people is about 70 to 72 inches.
Hmm.
So if you don't usually do much bigger than the throw size, that's going to work out really well for you.
Yeah, throws and babies, throws and babies. Don't throw the baby, but throw quilts and baby quilts, and
I'm calling somebody right now. It can get a 2-foot addition put onto it, so you could have up to a 10-foot frame, which maximum quilt width is going to be about 100, 102.
You could
It'd be
still do
queen
like a
size.
twin on an 8-foot.
Yeah,
It would just be a little bit tighter, but you could still do a twin. But yeah, a queen size you wouldn't be able to do on an 8-foot.
no.
So the 10-foot though, yes, you could do a
Absolutely.
queen size comfortably. I mean, king size would be no.
Nope.
Also, what is your definition of king size
By the way,
versus?
because that varies from person to person.
If you
and
look
region to
at,
region.
if you get a book out and you're looking at the size of the quilts, and then you get this pattern, and then you read this pattern, they all say queen size, king size, and their measurements are not the same.
They're kind of across the board difference. Do I do free motion quilting or computerized? So I learned via Pro Stitcher, which is the computerized. I also love technology. Computers are my best friends until they're not working, and then I'll throw them in a creek. That's not the point. That's littering. We don't actually do that. Officially speaking.
We threaten them.
I threaten them with the creek all the time. That said, though, I am a fan of free motion quilting, and I'm not good at it. So I've been practicing. I practice whenever I can. I am not confident enough to do it on somebody's quilt. I'll do it on my own stuff all day long because it's mine. I don't care. But for a customer, I absolutely will not free motion quilt because it takes a lot of time and practice. And I put a lot of time and effort into the Pro Stitcher, the computerized. So I personally prefer computerized.
Right.
With that said, again, there is value in knowing the free motion side of it as well.
So people don't know this. I'm going to spoil it. There are limitations to the computer.
There are. Very much so.
Computers want to do things that are in a square,
Yes.
in a rectangle.
It likes exact.
So if you want to do a feather that goes like this and is like free form and go, the computer's like, huh?
What?
I don't really understand what you're saying to me. That is not a shape that I recognize. You see so there is a benefit to also knowing how to free motion and getting better at it.
Absolutely, for sure. So we go from the Moxie, which is the budget-friendly machine. I'm going to show you an image now of the Amara, the Amara 24.
Oh, yeah.
So the Amara family, you have the Amara 20 and the Amara 24.
Right.
Again, whenever you're looking for a long arm, the conversation that I always tell people to really consider is look to the throat space you can afford. The Amara and the Amara 20 and 24 are the exact same basic machines as the ST. They're all in that Amara family. They're all that same technology.
Right.
Again, the 24 just gets you a little bit more room so that you can do a whole lot more in a single pass.
Right.
Before you have to advance that.
Right. Or also, if you have a quilt that has a 12-inch block, in my Amara 20, I can do that all day long. I can get that whole block in my throat space. I can quilt that just fine. You turn that on point, when you have a block on point, it now becomes about 18. Okay, from top to bottom. And 18 inches on a 20-inch throat space, remember we just talked about you're going to lose 5 to 6 inches. You can't get it.
Not going to work out well.
17 to 18 is what they end up being. Anyway, you get a 24 and you can fit that in.
You could. So again, it depends on your quilting style, piecing style, all those things.
If you're just going to edge-to-edge quilt all the time, it's still going to be better. You can get more passes before you are.
Right.
So I just realized, man, we're running on time.
You're going to get there. We're fine. The other thing I want to point out about the Amaras on their frame situation. So we talked about Moxie, how she's on an 8 or 10-foot frame. Again, we got to remember the Moxie was designed as a budget-friendly intro-level machine, so the frame's not as robust.
Right, it's on
so
a long
it can't
frame.
do long spans of space and support that fabric properly. So that's why it's limited. The Amara families are a different frame altogether, the studio frame, or the 24s on the gallery. So you can get either a 10 or 12-foot frame.
Right.
Which a 12-foot frame, I say right about 120 28 inches
Mhm.
wide
Mhm.
on a quilt. So most any king size. The gallery frames, you could go up to 14 foot if you had to,
Right.
which is insanity.
Right. If you think about it, even if I have a quilt that's 120 inches, it's usually 120 inches long.
Right.
And my width is 108 or 118 or, you know, something along there. But even if you had a 120 by 120 quilt, which is big, or you have a 120 by 140, you can go forever long. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The width is the only thing that matters. And you could, anyway, you could fit it.
You absolutely can.
On a 12-foot frame.
But again, for us, remembering that the machines come with a frame. So you don't have to say, I would love one of those machines, but I don't have a frame for it. How much is that going to cost me?
No.
It's included in the price of the machine.
Also, I've had people say, oh, I have a frame from some other older, or a frame that I would put my domestic on. And now can I just put I don't want to pay for the frame. It's like, no. Because machines run better on their frame with their carriage.
The way they were designed,
yes, all of that rides much more smoothly, and you're going to get a better quality stitch and all those things.
Absolutely. Last but not least, the machines I want to talk to you guys about is, as you discussed, the Infinity, which was kind of the precursor to the Amaras. We operate one of these guys for Quilt for Hire.
It's 26 inches of throat space.
26 inches of throat space. Some things to know about that machine, kind of important to know, is that she is a little louder than the Amaras. It runs faster at 3,100 stitches per minute, which is crazy fast. But because of that, they have a second counterweight inside of it that helps to keep the vibration from that to a minimum. So it's not as shaky and jerky as some machines that would be at that speed. They also have a different motor in it that makes it a lot louder. They don't use those in the other machines, which helps the other machines stay a bit quieter.
Right.
But in order to get that kind of speed, you have to have the servo motors, which can handle that kind of environment. So, but again, that is one of those things you do if you're going to go Quilt for Hire.
But I mean, or if you just are
really
like,
want it.
Because here's the deal: no one ever says, "Boy, I wish I didn't have all this throat space."
Not once have I heard that ever in my life.
Oh, I wish I didn't have all of this room for this frame. Now, maybe you would if you're struggling to get around it on one side or the other.
You got a 14 and a half foot room and you got a 12-foot frame.
So, Jackie, the Amaras can be computerized, or you can just get it as a free motion. You speak to that. You can just plug and play. Yeah.
So, yes, all the stand-up machines have a Pro Stitcher, which is the computerized compatibility for all of them. You can get them with or without the computerized, and they're all wired to have it added at any time. So if you're not sure what you're looking for and you want to get a machine and then you want to try it out, free motion, rulers, pantographs, and then realize, I do like this, but I really would prefer the computerized, you can buy the computerized at another time and it just adds right in. It's not difficult to do at all.
Right.
Or you can get it just out the gate, which,
So here's I am a perfectionist. And so when and also I was going to do this for a business, right? And I wanted to have consistency. So, but even if I was getting one for home, I would have done everything I could to get a computerized machine right off the bat, because I would have not felt comfortable with my free motion skills. And I would have looked at, oh, that loop isn't the same size as that loop. And, oh, I better take that out. No. I mean, and some of that maybe you can get past. But if you are like, especially if you want to do it for a business, but also if that is just, you prefer things to be consistent, and the computer's the way to go.
It absolutely is, for sure. Again, I have all these machines here. So if you need to come check one out, including the computerized, I will absolutely let you come in and check out the computerized Pro Stitcher of it all. It's actually pretty cool. Come in, see us, and ask questions.
There is a computerized version for the Moxie.
There is.
It is a pared down version. It is not as much as is in the full version of Pro Stitcher. It's called Pro Stitcher Lite. But if you have a Moxie and you're like, man, I wish I could get a computer, but I can't. You can.
You can. You absolutely can.
There again. Remember, it is a more. It's not as robust.
Correct.
So they didn't want to throw in designs that your machine wouldn't be able to handle, or things like that, So, right? Isn't that right? Or is that?
It's more in that they didn't include extra designs. Like with the full version of Pro Stitcher, you start off with close to 1,000 free designs. With the Pro Stitcher Lite, because it's, budget friendly, they had to find ways to pare down the cost
to get
on
the
that.
cost down.
When you
I got
figure a design or pattern, if you go to buy one's $15 from any given site,
Right.
and you've got 1,000 of them to start, and you're trying to make it budget friendly, you're going to take some of those out.
I got you. So you could still buy any design.
Oh, you still absolutely can go buy any design.
There's just things that like you're going to only be able to get it to be 9 inches.
Limited on the size on that. Absolutely. So,
gotcha.
But again,
so I was confused.
The Pro Stitcher allows you to adjust size on patterns, so which is great. The big difference with Pro Stitcher Lite versus Premium is that Lite has a few less control features.
Right.
So you can't be as unique with your design
exactly.
as you can with the full version.
I do tell people though, if you've never had full version Pro Stitcher, you won't be missing. Oh, where's that button? You never
don't even
had
know about that button.
You don't even know.
No idea.
And it's totally fine. You can absolutely run Pro Stitcher Lite.
Absolutely. Jason Lewis, Pro Stitcher all the way. You're absolutely right, sir. It's the way to do it. Love the technology.
It is the best.
Again, if you have questions, you're welcome to come in and ask us about all these things. I don't mind answering the questions. If you have questions and you don't live locally, you can absolutely shoot us an email. I will give you far more information than you probably need.
Yes.
If you don't live necessarily close and you really want a machine, I travel to set up machines, so I'll sell you a machine and I'll come set it up for you, and you get your initial training and all that stuff for me as well. So you got questions on that, you just let us know. But we're excited about what we do. So
right. The other thing about us is that we only sell Handy Quilter Longarms.
Yep.
We don't sell another brand. We only sell Janome Domestics. But go back to Handy Quilter here for a second. So we only sell these, and we use them every single day.
Every day.
Okay, maybe not Sundays. But anyway.
If I had to.
Right. The thing is that even if Jason and I are both gone, Kelly's here, she's running machines. You call the shop, you can get a question answered. You are not alone. Like some people get really freaked out about this. You're gonna leave this baby with me, and now I've got to take care of it. And I don't know what I'm doing. Right. But
That's
so
horrifying,
I've got this new machine. And I paid, good money for it, and I really want to use it, but I'm not going to be able to use it. You have us here available. Push buttons, make mistakes, do the things. Then you're going to learn, and then you're going to love it. So
absolutely. Okay. Well,
anyway,
I mean, I think we kind of run over a little bit on our time. I don't think anybody's mad about it. That's a lot of information to take in. Again, just kind of a general overview. Longarms, don't be afraid of them. They're there for helping you.
Right. These are not scary.
These kind of are. That's a lot. Anyway, that was silly. That was just silly, Danielle. With that all said, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. We're going to get out of here. Don't forget, Shop Hop. Come see us. Get your stamps, get your passports, get your things, get your pattern, do the thing. Monday, flash sale. 9 a.m. Check the website. warmandcozyquilting.com/sale. Go see what's in there.
Right.
Wednesday, live sale here, 6 p.m. Central Time. Go do that. Make it a thing. And with all that, if you got nothing else, I'm good. We good?
All right.
See you guys soon.
Bye.